so,
Must kill the queen.
Must. So Maureen wants to bring Clement in straight, right? She wants to arrest him and bring him in and get him for the murder of the judge. And Norbert just wants to, what does he say? Put him in a bag in the desert or something. Like just straight up kill him. Throw him off a building. He says, "Let's see if we can fly."
Oh yeah. I think because I think I saw like in one of the trailers or one of the previews, like, oh, why don't we just let the Albanians take care of them or something like that? Or like, I think I saw that like in one of the trailers or something like that. Like,
oh, okay.
The Albanians who are a figure into playing to the story as we find out. Then that was one of the other ways or something like that. There was something like. Mentioned like that.
Yeah, Sandy kind of set up that for us, right? She talked about how, if you shoot one of them, then their brother or their dad is going to come and shoot one of yours, and then your family is going to go and shoot one of theirs, and it just becomes a whole war thing. So she's kind of set up this, situation where, what we see with Clement apparently robbing Skender, that we're going to have this kind of escalating series of retaliations.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to talk about here with Maureen in particular was that, she offers for Raylan and Willa to stay at her house. And when she offered that, I was like, oh, she's coming on to Raylan. That's an angle I did not expect this to take. And then we get the scene at her house, and she's got her husband and her 2 young daughters there. And I was like, oh, well, that's not what's going on. And then it occurs to me that, oh, wait a minute. As soon as Bill came on the screen and he's washing the dishes and she's giving him a hug and all that, I'm like, R.I.P. Bill.
Oh, geez. Oh, yeah. Because you think that's okay. I got you. Yeah. You think that's it's like you think that there's a setup, there's a big payoff down the road as far as like, oh, she's mentioning the husband and domestic bliss and all this other stuff. Huh?
Yeah, I think there's something coming, right? I don't know if it's going to be, something happens to Bill or something happens to one of the girls or something happens to Maureen or whatever, but it feels very much like, why show the happy family? I mean, I get that you're trying to contrast it with what Raylan's experiencing with Willa, but at the same time, it felt a little over the top for that. Like they're setting us up for something here. They're trying to make us care about these people for some reason. And because they're going to pull the rug out from under us.
All right, I'm marking that down too. We'll see how that works out, how that plays out.
Mark me down for that prediction. I did when Bill showed up and he's washing the dishes and they're in the kitchen together. I looked at Rachel and I'm like, R.I.P. Bill, because I felt the foreshadowing heavy in that moment.
That's right, because Raylan was like looking at Willa play with the daughter or the other little kids, basically watching over them.
Yeah,
and it was like, this is what I want or I'm missing or whatever. Yeah, I think okay. I see that. Okay, cool.
And I know nothing, right? Like this whole thing is not in the book. There's nothing about this in the book, so I'm not spoiling a storyline here. I am just complete speculating based on feel. But to kind of wrap up on the locals, for me at least, I don't know about you, but I do have another door kicker's going to door kick comment here, like straight up trashing Sweetie's bar and the apartment, like slicing open the cushions and trashing the pool table. Like, why do you have to do that? I get that you're looking for a murder weapon or whatever, but you didn't manage to find it. It wasn't hidden that well in the drop ceiling in the bathroom. Come on.
Yeah.
Good thing you cut open the couch.
Well, that's on brand for the way the locals are portrayed, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they're all So I got you.
Yeah, absolutely on brand. I do like the consistency that they've had, right? And they're just they want to bust heads. So
yeah.
So let's talk about Carolyn and Sweetie then for a minute, because at one point in this episode, the locals, they arrest everybody, and they're trying to question everybody, and they get nothing out of anybody because everybody just shuts up and asks for their attorney, except for Mansell, who decides he wants to sing White Stripes in the interrogation room. And and we get to learn a little bit about Sweetie. He actually has the gun after the arrest and after the search and everything else. He had the gun. I don't know if he had found it first and hid it better, or if he had, if he found it after the cops left. But Carolyn tells him, yeah, I'm going to see if I can get you an immunity deal. I guess basically the idea here, as I understood it, was that he doesn't want to turn in Mansell because he's afraid that if he turns in Mansell, he's going to go down as an accomplice for felony murder or whatever related to the killing of the drug dealers in that house several years ago. And he doesn't want to go down for that. So Carolyn's going to try and get him an immunity deal. And the only other thing that I really had about Sweetie in this episode was I was trying to figure out, he's talking to the guy who's helping him clean up, who's got the hipster mustache, And I was trying to figure, it felt like a very intimate sort of conversation, and the way that they were positioned and the way they were talking to each other felt like a couple. And I couldn't tell, are we supposed to understand that they're together, or is this just somebody who works for somebody, do you think?
Oh, I got that exact same feeling that they're a couple.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. I mean, it's like these days, who knows? But that's the sense that I got. Yeah. I think that's completely right. Yeah.
It just felt very the way that they were talking to each other felt very intimate. So either they're a couple or they've been friends for a very, very long time. So I think we'll probably learn more about that as things go on here. And then
I'm leaning towards couple.
Yeah,
I'm calling it now.
That's where my head is too. I think that's a safe bet. Okay, let's talk about Carolyn for a minute. So Carolyn, in this episode, we get a little bit more of her backstory puzzle filled in. Not too much though. So we learn that what I believe is her law partner, we don't know for sure that yet. I don't know if he was more than just her law partner in addition to being her law partner, but the Jamal, the gentleman that she met in the first episode, owes over $100,000 to the IRS, and she lives in Grosse Pointe, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, that's a really nice sort of Art Deco-y modern house in Grosse Pointe, and you've got a pool and everything else. It feels a six-figure tax lien from the IRS doesn't feel like a low six-figure tax lien from the IRS doesn't feel like an insurmountable mountain for her to climb. I don't know why she wouldn't just take care of the problem, right?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, she was in distress, definitely, because I think that pool was even empty. I think she was just like sitting, the house, I don't think was running, the way it should.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's dilapidated and she doesn't have the income to kind of maintain it or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the impression that I got. I mean, I think you're right. Unless maybe like just the amount of money she's making from being a criminal defense attorney in Detroit just isn't that much.
Maybe it doesn't add up. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
even with the kickbacks from Sweetie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who does she have to grease? Also,
that's
like whose palms does she have to grease? In the for whatever else that she has going on. We don't exactly have a whole picture, right?
Yeah, it's the mafia everywhere, right? Everybody's got to kick up.
yeah, exactly. So I did think it was, I don't know, I kind of laughed a little. I don't know if that was an appropriate reaction, but when they had that one part where she's like, oh, she's like, submitting an application to be a judge,
wistfully dreaming about being a judge.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't think that's the way, unless you think you're going to get a lot of money, which you might if you're on the take.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, I don't know, do judges make that much money?
No.
I don't think they do.
No.
Not compared to, say, if you're in private practice, I would imagine.
Right. Yeah. You can, you know, the difference between being a judge and being in private practice, judges make good money, but they don't make the kind of money you can make in private practice. The difference is you don't have to hunt what you eat, right? You know, you're just collecting a salary versus having to go out there and scare up clients and collect money and everything else. So.
Yeah.
But once you're a judge, I mean, you know, it looked like she was applying to be like a hired judge. If you're an elected judge, you've got to fundraise and everything else. It becomes like a second full-time job.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, because you're basically a politician at that point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you're running for election.
Yep. And you don't have political parties behind you because political parties it's non-political races. So it's not like you can go to the party and get a bunch of money to fund your campaign. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's,
well, I
go ahead.
I was just going to say that so it's either that or she's like, like she's looking at that and, I lost my train of thought. I was going to say it looked one way and it could be interpreted another way as far as like, maybe that's her ambition. So she can like, because I don't think, she's obviously, I don't think she's a straight arrow. Do you?
No way.
As far as like, yeah. So the other way to look at it would be, I can do that if I get to that position. Then look at all the money that'll come my way.
Yeah, it could be learning from Judge Guy, right? Like we're relatively certain he's corrupt as all hell. So she could be like, well, it's part of the deal here in Detroit. Let's go.
Yeah.
So we also find out that she she did her law school homework on a bar stool at Sweetie's. So there's definitely a tie there that goes back a long way. So. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to kind of our main story, which is Skender and Clement Mansell and Sandy Stanton. So this is where Mansell is now ready to start to go after the Albanian. So they all get arrested. They all get questioned. Nobody flips. Nobody admits anything. Everybody asks for their lawyer, and they all get released. But when they get released, the cops are following all of them around all the time. And now Clement Mansell, because he makes smart decisions, decides that now is the perfect time to go after Skender and his money. Because what better time than when the cops are watching every move you make to do more crime. So it is interesting because as you watch him, you get that opening scene with him and Carolyn, and Carolyn's like, "What are you doing?" And his response is, "Whatever I want to do." And, Willa accuses Raylan of doing that in the episode as well, of him just doing whatever he wants to do. And so I thought that was an interesting sort of juxtaposition that the writers kind of attempted to play up there. But it's very clear that Clement does whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it. He is not a man who plots and plans. And actually, that is where we'll bring in one of our new features. You, sir, are no Boyd Crowder.
I serve with
Boyd Crowder.
I knew
Boyd Crowder.
Senator, you're no
Boyd Crowder. So my kind of piece of this here is that Boyd would get blinded by the target. He would get laser focused on it. He couldn't see anything else but the target, but it never stopped him from planning and contingency planning and double contingency planning. He always had kind of an out. And if you think about like Mexico with Cousin Johnny, trying to get him. He had, he was a move ahead of cousin Johnny there and managed to get the drop on him. And so